Hello and welcome to our coverage of Canberra Survivor versus the World, Canberra Season 3. What a fantastic episode we have to get into this evening. A double tribal council, complete disregard for the welfare of crew in challenge organisation. I can't wait to criticise you for that, Dan. The lawyer in me is just aching to criticise your breach of WHS laws. We have a completely random reference to Possum Magic that made no sense. It wouldn't have made the edit if it was not for it being delivered by the most wonderful narrator LRGs have ever been blessed with in Andrew. And an incredible vote over on Random Bird Tribe. No, I kid. That was boring. The yellow vote was unbelievable, and I cannot wait to get into it all with my ORCA crew. Joining me, as always, she has not effed off to America. She is here, as always. Welcome to my fellow ORCA. Dani, welcome.
Oh, hey, I'm here. I don't have a loved one overseas. Everybody's here.
And replacing Jules. Can she be replaced? It's not easy, but I've done it because we have the true star of reality TV in our LRG community. She podcasts on real platforms that people listen to. She was on a real reality show. She is a real, true ORCA, bringing back to the ORCA pod for a debut on Canberra versus the World. Annabel, welcome.
Oh my God, I feel like you could have gone at least 45 seconds longer with the compliments, CK, but thank you.
I'll build it up for next week to get you back. I could have called you the People's Champion, the People's Champions Champion, because Eden in the comments last week was super duper excited that you were going to be on the show coverage. I hope he's here live.
Simp so hard for Eden. We are long time Twitter mutuals. And my Twitter friends are my everything. So I was equally thrilled to see Eden cast on Survivor Canberra.
And frankly, in my view, at the halfway point, Eden is the star of the season. He's the star of the season, both as a character and as a player. I'm enjoying him in both respects a lot. I think he's brilliant.
So much fun.
Disgusting he went uncasted. CK shared with me your draft, and he went undrafted. Oh my God, what were you guys thinking?
Not he went undrafted. He just wasn't the first pick of the three of us.
Yeah, so
I'm looking at the list, and no one's face is next to it.
So the way the People's Champion was chosen was that we all had two picks, and then a wheel was spun for the balance 10. And he was spun up by random on the wheel to be the People's Champion, of which if he makes the top 3, I've made it top 5 now, I will go to Canberra and put on $1,000 of drinks on the bar for the Canberra community. And as soon as Eden spun up, I was like, fuck. This guy has a huge chance of making top 3. I made it top 5 because I think that's more fun. But he certainly has a chance of going a long way. So it's not. I was planning on drafting him absolutely with my next pick.
All right. Well, I can't wait to see you make it rain.
And now joining us 100%. For our first interview of the season, sadly, Jay and Maddie, while the coverage has been going, they're off in the world, off somewhere, who knows, because they're part of the Rando Bird World tribe. So they're gone. And they weren't available for interview. They were the first and second boots, and they could care less about coming on our show. And, I've never been in that position, but I can sort of get how they feel. But thankfully, we have our first interview. Very exciting. We're going to do the interview first because that's how the episodes work. We see the boot go first with the challenge. I drafted her. I thought she was brilliant. Let's welcome her to the program. Anthea, Abs, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Before we got on with the show, I was having a little chat with Anthea, and I must say, Eden's very excited. I must say, your hair looks fabulous. We were just remarking about how long has it been since you've been on this show? Because obviously your hair was shorter, and now it's considerably longer. How long has it been?
It was November 2022. That we filmed that. So nearly 2 years.
And of course, your incredible story where to the day of your boot was the day that you started or finished chemo?
Started. Yeah.
What an incredible journey that you can be going through chemo for breast cancer and then a year later competing on one of these sorts of activities.
Yeah.
What was it? Tell us a bit about that. How did you go from having cancer, getting into recovery, and then deciding to throw yourself into something that you self-admitted in your intro vids that is not something that you felt that comfortable doing?
Well, I mean, it's because I was sitting in the chemo chair on November 26, 2021 and scrolling through Twitter thinking I'm having a really shit time in my life. And I saw Shannon Gus was talking, she tweeted about Survivor Canberra. I am not aware of this whole LRG, ORG world. I had heard of Survivor Brooklyn, so I sort of knew that the thing existed. So I was like, what? Maybe in a year I'll be like I'll be alive again. And maybe I could do that. And so I sort of set it as a little goal of like, if I, get through this, I'm going to like put myself out there a bit and like live a bit more and have some more fun and adventures. And I did it.
How incredible. That's just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. So on the day when I realized what the date was, I had a little moment of like, oh my God, what a year. A really shit time, but now here I am like on this adventure, so I was pretty psyched about that.
There you go. Survivor Canberra, giving everyone the will to keep going, and
exactly.
I love
Brought
it.
Me back to life.
Amazing.
Imagine if he didn't cast you after that. Like you roll into the casting interview. This was my inspiration to beat cancer, and Dan's like, I don't know.
Too boring.
You were a slam dunk casting, obviously, on your person and your story, but like, just imagine that'd be a bit heartbreaking. Didn't really give him a choice, I'd say.
Vicious.
Yeah.
The was that moment the moment we saw actually with your exit confessional, where you teared up a little bit and sort of made that comment, or did you realize?
No, I realized when I was filling in the disclaimer, whatever form it was initially, and I think there was a moment in the show I'm like, it was a year ago, and then when I did my exit interview, I was like, oh my God, it was a year ago. I had a little moment, and and it just sort of all came crashing in on me of like, I really did this, and it was like a real roller coaster, but really happy that I've been able to experience like such intensity out of such a random thing.
Well, you did actually. Sorry, you go, Dani.
And I was saying, no, it is such like a weird thing. Like we all three on the panel like completely get that. It's just this weird random thing that you kind of sign up for, and then it just impacts your life in this crazy way. And like the whole exit confessional, I was tearing. I was just like, oh my God. I was like, I get that feeling. And like, even more so for you with everything that you've been through. Like my mum has had breast cancer. So like for me, that really touched home. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm so in love with this woman and so inspired. And I get all the feelings. It was just like, that whole exit confessional was just like top tier.
Yeah. It's incredible how, it's a great game, and I've been so lucky to have played it. But just the intensity of it as well is so impactful on your life. It's kind of weird how impactful it is.
Yeah, and you cry after one day. It's just it's so impactful. Just like crying in front of someone with their phone. It's like, what the fuck is happening?
And like, just sort of releases like all this vulnerability that you sort of don't normally share with people, but you're just like, I'm happy to just share all of this random stuff. And cry and kind of.
And obviously, you form strong relationships. We have some people in the chat that are excited that you're here, Eden and Sabrina and Pauline, with their much love. And you sadly did not make the merge, but I think that a lot of times people don't make the merge, and their story doesn't end up being particularly anything. Like they don't even get to experience too much of the game. But even though you were pre-merge, you got to be such a part of this huge experience. You attended the J vote where, you've got rocks, almost going to rocks with two ties. You've got getting a strong alliance of 4. You get swapped. You've still got the numbers, but then the numbers go against you. But then Eden plays an idol on you, but then it's not a real idol. Like, what an experience! What a roller coaster! Take us a bit back to what was probably your favorite moments of the game that you experienced?
The favorite moment was, I think, when Eden and I were talking, walking along, and I think you showed it, and they showed it, and we just talked about, let's go to the end together. And that's when I just got the taste for the game. I'm like, oh, I got it, and I was in, and I was all in, and that was probably my downfall. But I was just like, I remember saying to him, oh my God, I'm having the time of my life. Because I was so anxious coming in and, nervous about being older and not knowing anybody, not being in the community. So I was really sort of anxious about, like, is this a terrible idea? But then I got in and I found this awesome alliance, and I was really happy. And then I really bonded with Ed, and then I just got so excited about the possibility of having a ride or die. And I'm like, oh, I'm in this game and I'm going to go to the end. I just got so excited. So that was just like a highlight. It was such a thrill to sort of be in that position and just, getting the sense of it and the taste of it, and you could see a path. And then it all came crashing down, and I was heartbroken.
Well,
Yeah. No, sorry. I'm going CK.
I'll just mute myself over.
Yeah, thanks. No, that I'm glad we've got there, and it is kind of jumping forward a little bit. Abs, what I found really moving about your story was your relationship with Eden, and how authentic that felt, and how emotional you were when he played the idol or tried to play an idol on you, and how even as you're back to the swamp of sadness or whatever, and you're processing those emotions of being blindsided, your real big takeaway was, oh, this authentic friendship. Eden tried to play an idol on me. So I just wanted to, that was a blindside moment. Talk us through how you were feeling in that moment at Tribal Council when he whips this out.
Like, I knew he had the idol, but we hadn't really had much time to talk about it. And we had no discussions about him playing it on me. I wasn't involved in those discussions. So going into that tribal, I did not realize the vote was on me. So when they took a really long time to count the votes, I was like, oh shit, what's going on? And I knew Bethany was paranoid. And then Eden played that idol on me, and I was just so touched, like on a personal level, that in this game, and I know he was playing so hard, and I know he had so many sort of plans, and but just to play it on me, I was just so touched that I could just meet this person, and we could sort of form this bond, and then he would choose to play one of his advantages on me. It was like it was so beautiful, and I was just so touched. So I was so mad when it turned out to not be valid.
and he, of course, for all he knew, thought it was valid, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I look forward to talking to him about it one day when the show is over. But he didn't even really know if it was an idol. He made an assumption because, as Jules said on the show, he didn't have the paperwork, and without the paperwork, you don't really have anything. And he obviously thought it was legit. But he obviously was clued in enough to know you were getting the votes. You mentioned before that Bethany was paranoid, and that's how you felt about Bethany. But obviously, you see that now, Bethany was actually a bit more clued in than paranoid. How'd you feel seeing that on the rewatch, that John basically told her that he was voting for you?
Yeah. Yeah, so Bethany kept saying, oh, I'm worried about that John's flipping. So I thought that she was worried about her position. So I was like, calm down, you're okay. Because I'd had a conversation with John, and he was like, let's just stick the 4 of us. And I sort of misread him and just assumed that he would be with, the majority. So I misread him. I completely underestimated John. And there was moments when I was like trying to say, is John a real problem? And there was a conversation where I was saying, is John really going to flip? And at that point, Eden stood back and was like, no, gave me that all good kind of.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. So I was like, okay.
Yeah. I love that moment.
Yeah. And really sort of calmed me down. It's like, no, it's okay. In realizing now, Bethany knew that it was me, but neither Bethany or Eden told me that John was targeting me, so I was completely in the dark.
Why do you think that was, given if with all the proper information, you could have used your advantage to a lot of success in this particular, not leaving, but to remove one of them? We discussed last week the best option would have perhaps been to remove Todd or Ed, and then get them to sort of, are you going to go to rocks for John sort of situation would have been the strategy.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Bethany was worried that I would leave with the advantage, but if I'd known, I definitely would have, played it on. I was thinking Loz because she was sort of a real linchpin. So, and I wasn't sure how she was going on the other tribe. So I would have forced Loz to defect. Yeah,
that would have been smart. We look at the vote that we just saw play out after your boot. She was clearly the one telling Todd and Ed what to do. So I think you had that read absolutely correct.
Yeah, but because I'd had that conversation with Eden and I was just so excited, I was like, okay, I'll save the advantage when we get to the merge. I was just 2 steps ahead. You've really just got to focus on the vote ahead of you. And I got too excited.
And that's so hard not to do when you get that close to merge. You're like, oh, let me think about all the things I'm going to do when I get to merge. But you've got to get there first. So
you've got to get there. Yeah. Just because you're up in the numbers doesn't mean you can relax and 100%. Sit on the top and not talk to Loz and not talk to Todd as much as you should and not have the full conversations with John. I mean, we really didn't have much time, but I didn't do the work that I needed to do.
It's quick.
It's quick. It was so quick because that challenge, that bloody tangram puzzle, took so long. So we had 10 minutes.
I wanted to understand the relationships before the swap a little bit more. From my perspective, Squin, really hot, really charismatic. What a vibe. Not in your Gals and Gays alliance. She was with Aiden. So I wanted to know how your alliance ended up coming together and why you chose the people you did.
It was circumstantial, really. I mean, I was drawn to Maddie a lot because Maddie just is so, such a large personality. So she, I sort of snuck in under her wing a little bit just while we sort of figured things out. And because I found the advantage with Bethany and Maddie, and we had a great vibe, and then Eden saw us, so he sort of forced his way in, which turned out to be fantastic. And he was the one that said, let's, I like this vibe. So that was perfect. With Squin, I'm loving watching her play. But when I spoke to her in the game, she sort of kept saying, I'm just going to sit back and see what happens. I'm just going to wait. And so I'm like, no, we can't be waiting. So I was like, I can't really work with let's just wait and see. Like, we just didn't have the time to do that. So she, I wasn't able to get anything working with her, sadly.
What about with John? Like, when we made our earlier predictions, I was quite confident that you and the women you're with would be in alliance with Eden, because Eden made it very clear in his interviews that he planned to screw all the men and make an alliance with women. And I figured you guys would go with that. But I also thought that maybe there was the potential for you to build a connection with John, being 2 of the older people on the tribe, given just the general age demographics there. It doesn't sound like that you guys really hit it off, though, in terms of building a dynamic here from the start.
No, and because I was a bit paranoid about being sort of an older person, so I sort of physically even just separated from him just so no one would see us as a pair, because I didn't want that whole, what is it, beach and camp alliance. What was that? Cambodia. The beach.
Yeah.
I didn't want that separation, so I sort of avoided him a little bit just because I didn't want to be perceived as an older pair. But I think that didn't serve me well because I just didn't put the time in with him, and so he saw me as and he didn't see me as someone to work with.
Yeah.
So I didn't put the work in, and I should have with him.
Sabs here, beach people and shelter people.
I wanted to be a beach person. I don't know.
Do you understand why they chose you over, say, Bethany or Eden for that vote? Why, who was kind of driving that, and why you were the person who went out where you did?
I think it was just because Bethany and Eden, I think they had more potential to work with them. Like, they had more conversations. They had a working relationship. They didn't have that working relationship with me. Like, I really you know, I was so excited about you know, what I had cooking, that when we had a bit of a chance, I just sort of took the pressure off and just didn't chat with Loz about game, because it you know, it's stressful to go in and start talking game with her. She's kind of an intimidating person, so I didn't do that, and I regret that. Obviously, I should have just played. I should have just played harder constantly. So because I didn't sort of forge those didn't have those strategy chats, I think they just saw me as maybe someone who wasn't interested, or yeah.
I think a lot of people that go on these things, their advice to people would be to play a bit harder. It's probably not for me. I probably should play less hard. But the advice is for most people, because then you don't have regrets, right? That's the goal. You go in and give everything you've got, and then whatever comes. And you almost gave it everything you got in the work health and safety challenge of the slingshots. You were so close. And I was torn because I drafted you. I drafted Amy. I'm like, I don't know who I want to win here. Like, I've got to know Anthea better over the course of the show, and I really think she's fantastic. But Amy's been such a beast in these challenges. It's unbelievable. She's just winning.
I kind of want Amy to come back and win. Like, I'm pretty happy with that arc for her.
I also really like it because, you know, she said on the program that she felt that perhaps her physical appearance was part of the reason why she got voted out. Todd said, like, in the comments unequivocally, that it was nothing to do with that, but that was how she felt. That's what she expressed. So for her there to be just dominating and beasting these challenges when she felt a bit like that was the reason, I'm sure it was very, very positive for her.
Yeah, love that for her to come back and just demolish us all.
Sorry, Amy, it was actually because you have a personality.
Sorry. Yeah, that's right. That's the reason she got voted out. Too social.
But that challenge was awful. It was, I mean, I kind of know how to use a slingshot, but I was so frazzled and just like all over the shop. I was holding it wrong, and then the balls hit I don't know what they were, ball bearings hit that tin shed, and they were flying off everywhere, and they were so loud. It was, couldn't wait.
I imagine they rushed you from that vote to the swamp. You had very little time in the swamp, and then to that challenge, because they're probably behind because of that stupid puzzle. And you just you're still trying to process what happened. You see yourself at the challenge.
Still shaking and
and it's only there you're like, I didn't know who voted for me, and then you wait a minute, like, oh no, it was John. It was definitely John. But you hadn't even processed that yet. So you know, I guess that's the advantage that Amy has for being there a while, that she's settled and she's focused and ready for these challenges, and you're also trying to work it all through. Particularly when Eden played the idol on you, did you then click, hang on, am I getting votes here? Or we like, is Eden just being overly cautious? Like, what did you think about that play?
As soon as they took so long to count the votes, I don't know why they took so long, but they were taking forever. And then Bethany sitting next to me, she wasn't giving me anything. I was like, oh shit, something's happened. And she wasn't nervous. So I was like, oh shit, it's me.
Yeah. Okay. So Bethany was clued in, pretty certain that's what was happening.
Yeah, because Bethany and John had a conversation about me that, you know, that I've seen now, but I just didn't know that at the time. She hadn't said it was me. So that was when I finally picked up, oh crap, it's me.
Why do you think that she and Eden weren't so upfront with you about what they thought was happening? Like, Eden, obviously Bethany was certain because John had told her. Eden was so sure that he played an idol on you. Like, why didn't either of them go, look, where this confident you're going, I'm going to play my idol.
I know.
That would have made go, oh man, okay, I am going.
I mean, I think from Eden's, I haven't had these conversations, but I think from his perspective, if he's so confident, then it's great for him to be able to use that idol and save me. If he's confident it's me and he's confident he's got an idol, and he's confident in our relationship, then it's good for him to use the idol and use that, because the advantage, I mean, I guess I could have left them in the lurch perhaps, and they, you know, would have been more of a target. But that could have easily been resolved in a conversation. I just think we just had so little time that we just didn't. I I don't know. I think they still could have mentioned it to me that it's me.
Eden's got the answers. He only found it at the last minute, but also he had other plans because the idol would work and then they could use the advantage at the 3-3 split. So he did actually have a pretty good plan. That if it was the right idol, it would have actually been a brilliant couple of moves.
Yeah.
So he made some other brilliant moves. Does anyone else have anything for Anthea before we move on with chatting about the episode?
No, just the same love for you. It's such a shame to see you go out this early, but like your story, I'm glad you had so much game in your short time. Because it does go out at that point in time with nothing in your belt, but to have played so much game, how great.
Yeah, I feel really. I mean, it stung a lot. Like for a couple of months, I was like,
it hurts. Yeah, absolutely.
But now I feel really good about it, so I feel very at peace with my Survivor Canberra experience.
Amazing.
If you still hate John 4 years from now, no one will judge you. It's completely fine.
She says no comment.
No
comment. Your silence is screaming.
I'm going to bring in my score for you because the current tally, Dani's on 4. I've got a very convoluted scoring system for those who haven't followed.
Oh, God.
You get your position. So you third boot. So I get 3 points for that, plus the amount of votes that weren't for you at your tribal council. So that's 3. So I get 6 points for you.
That is a very complicated scoring system. No, you were an absolute legend, Anthea. Loved watching you so much. Gutted you're gone this early, but you were a genuine pleasure to watch.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the great coverage.
Thank you so much. All right. So I'll go into our usual format. Here we go. On to the episode. It was great chatting with Abs. She was fantastic. And I think we'll just get into the top and come back to the bottom like we love to do. And we'll talk about the incredible tribal council that happened over at Random Bird, yeah?
Well, do we start post-challenge? Because that's where the fucking incredibleness of the night
everyone a joke. Obviously, Annabel doesn't know the Random Bird element.
I watched the show. What more do you want from me? I wasn't going to watch your podcast as well. I actually watched all 5 episodes and I watched the 5th one twice. That is more than I've ever done for the ORCA pod.
It's such a good season. It's a good season.
It's really good. I've loved
really
it.
Good.
Like, honestly, Dan, you've done chef's kiss. I mean, I'm not even up to date on Survivor 47, which I'm also supposed to be podcasting about. I watched this. It was amazing.
So just to be clear, when we said there was a lot of favoritism towards the Canberra tribe, we thought they would do better in the challenges, and we also thought that Dan wants Canberra to win, so he thought we'll give them advantages in terms of their tribe makeup. And when they were telling the tribe names at the start, they're like, yellow, you're Binandara, is that right? It means shining light. Shining light, golden child. And then for the blue tribe, lives literally like it's some bird.
Currawong. I love a currawong.
You're just some bird. It was like you're the shining golden child, and you guys are some bird. The world.
Quite an ominous bird as well, I say.
Okay, but I'm just saying they didn't shower them with the praise that they did with the brown eyes. Anyway, that's why they're the random birds. Let us talk about the random birds first. No, let's not. Let's go to the good stuff. Let's go to the gold. The shining children.
Okay, well, I want to just start with a speech when we talk about the golden bird, all right? Honestly, I'm so sick of men just on a daily basis, on a regular daily basis. I've had enough of them. I've had enough of them on Survivor. I've had enough of them on the internet. I've had enough of them, sitting next to them, putting their fucking legs in my space on the plane.
And I am a female in a male-dominated industry with some of the most masculine men. I'm tired of being gaslighted. I'm tired of being bullied. I'm tired of being spoken down to. I'm tired of being told by men how to do my hair, how many earrings I'm allowed to wear.
Let's just get rid of them all.
Okay.
Perfect. Oh, my God. It was iconic. CK, you can be our Eden. As long as you stay loyal to us, we won't murder you. But these two women, honestly, we've got Loz, who's giving off hostile energy all the time. When Eden's talking to her, he's like, I literally have no friends. You are my only friend. She's like,
Okay.
Okay. And then,
she's like, fuck you for finding that advantage.
Literally. And then you've got Bethany, who everyone's just like, whoa, Bethany is so intense. Like, love Bethany, but she's scary as hell. And these two gals just like getting it on, loving each other, like being like, yeah, screw these guys. Let's take control. Oh, it was horny.
It was very horny.
It was an incredible moment. I think, one of the top moments in all of the LRGs that have existed in Australia. It was the speeches that you just repeated there to be said off the cuff were so strong and so powerful and so from the heart. And I really love Bethany's part about the plane seat, because obviously she's just flown over from New Zealand. So I feel like that's a particularly raw moment that she's experienced on the flight over that I felt really hit home. And I'm sure for you and for the other women that were watching it, every statement of it just really hit home. But, for myself, who tries to be someone who's empathetic towards the situations but can never really understand what it's like, I thoroughly enjoyed. I like hearing those perspectives as well. What I also liked about it is it was the third step, in my view, in how this all came together. The first step was Eden and him finding the re-hidden advantage, the defector advantage, right in front of Loz, which was somewhat fortuitous because then he could be very open to her about what it was. But I felt as soon as he got that, I'm like, well, he's out of here. He's just going to nope his way out, right?
Yeah,
I'm like, that's what I would do. And then he just says to her, like, I could do this, but then I'm just throwing Bethany to the wolves, and I don't really want to do that. And I felt that moment showed, I guess, on top of already playing an idol on an ally, Loz, this is the sort of player that Eden is. Eden's not out for himself. Eden's out looking after his allies. And even though he has a free ticket out of here, he's now worried about how he can use this to keep both himself and Bethany safe. But I think, okay, we want to talk about that one?
Yeah, because it also pressures Bethany to stick to Eden as well, right? Because we get that confessional from her where she's thinking, oh, could be tempting. Like, it's the heat's on him, not on me. Yeah. But Eden, it seems like she says Eden's really pushing to keep us together. And when you juxtapose that against the random bird tribe, where both Aiden and Squin are a little bit like, well, I don't want to push too hard. It'll, and there was an option there for them, right? Like there was a name there that if they had pushed hard enough, they could have got.
I think they could have got Oscar out. Is that you doing Oscar?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So you're right. Step one, Eden, crucial there. And also him emphasizing our only other number on our starting tribe, they voted them out. Like, we do not have a relationship with Squin and Aiden. The only other person in this game I'm working with is Bethany. Like, I am your number. And I think that was really important.
And then I think the middle bit, which is probably the least important, but I felt was a great connector of all these parts, was the conversation about men and being women and the challenges that they've faced was the exclamation point in putting this together. Earlier, there was a conversation with Bethany and Loz, which was also incredibly strong and great work from Bethany about, you're wearing an old school Survivor t-shirt. She didn't say it, but that's what she's thinking. You're a huge Survivor fan. Do you really want to play with John, who's just walking up to people and saying, I'm voting you out, which, to be fair, is actually old school Survivor, but like, that's not what you're a fan. That's not the game you came to play, surely. And she's like, no, it's not the game I came to play. And I felt that sort of tactical discussion started Loz thinking about maybe doing John, and then it was the just punch it home with the feminism discussion, which I think really solidified all three of those parts into an incredible move and outcome.
Yes, and I want to talk on that. So sorry, Dani. Yeah. So, and I think also, like, we have to give some negative credit to particularly, I think, Ed and John. Like, John came in, and initially we're hearing that he's really drawn to Loz and he's really drawn to Ed. But it seems like as he's getting a little bit more time with them, he's really then like that temptation to bro down. He can't overcome.
100%.
The temptation to bro down, and then Ed being too transparent in and like threatening. Loz, in her mind, Ed and her are number ones, right? Now, if John is closer to Ed, John now becomes a threat to her relationship with Ed. So I think those two and their poor management of the optics of that. I mean, Ed, it sounds like he's not much of a fan of the game anyway.
Ed hasn't watched any of the show.
Yeah. So like, I don't blame him, and I think he's got a great vibe. I actually like kind of. I love everyone on that tribe.
He's the happy Labrador. He's great.
Yeah. But I do think that they created a bro situation for the women to then latch onto and feel uncomfortable about.
Yeah,
100%.
John should have been spending his time solidifying with Loz.
Well, and also, I mean, we just spoke to Andrea. Everyone else, all of the women with who have, some social awareness are clocking that Loz is the key linchpin, that Loz is the thinker, Loz is the fan, Loz is the one who holds the power. Like, Ed isn't going to come up with some crazy game flipping move. He doesn't know them. Like, so to invest that energy not in the powerhouse as well, big mistake.
I don't think he realizes it. Like, I mean, I understand he sees her as the powerhouse, but he's just like, but it's, again, that's that we're talking about, like, the alpha energy. And Beth says it all the time, like, drawn to those alpha energies, and then the men just tend to, like, off they go, little thinking that, like, oh, well, even she's a powerhouse woman, she's definitely not as, dynamic as us because we're men.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a thing that they think, it's still in the patriarchy of the world. That's just how that goes.
And I like there was also discussion, well, John just flipped on them last time, so how can we trust him? I don't think that has any legitimacy at all because he wasn't actually with them, and I think they understood that. But I still think it provided just another argument that, you could make sense. Maybe it's the sort of argument that Loz used with Ed and Todd. We never saw what she used with them to get them to move over to the vote. I was actually a bit surprised that it was such a 5-1 because I'm like, what's going to happen here? Are they going to play the advantage to get the numbers? Like, I was a little bit uncertain going into the tribal council.
I thought Todd would come across like he reads the game quite well. He's kind of aware where most votes are. Like, he's wanting to keep Beth on side, even though she's unsure of her trust in him based off the last vote. I didn't expect Ed to jump. That shocked me that he voted for John.
He's Labrador boyfriend energy. Like, I agree. When we went in and Eden didn't play his advantage, I was like, babe, don't do this to your mother. You're stressing me out. But when we saw the votes come out, I thought, you know what? Loz is totally the kind of baddie who would strut over there and go, no, I'm voting out John. I don't give a shit what you think. I'm voting out John. You're going to go to Rocks for John, Ed? And it'll be like, yes, okay, all right.
Ed might have, because he isn't about
Ed
strategy, but Todd, no way Todd goes to Rocks for John.
I was like, fuck this. Absolutely, no way.
Loz is still Ed's ride or die at the end of the day.
Yeah, but the thing is, Todd's the one that wouldn't, Ed might go to Rocks as long as she's not in trouble. Because, look, obviously he's not, but he sort of projects that he might have this weird loyalty thing about him that he struggles to break from. Like, but Todd is a pragmatic player who would happily, he would still have Loz, he'd still have Ed. He's got his side thing that he's trying to do with Bethany. Like, what does he care if John goes?
And then he builds that trust back up with Bethany by making that vote because he's just burned her in the last vote. So he's like, here, let me prove this to you. We're good.
I don't think Bethany's buying it, by the way.
No, she's not, absolutely. That's like, this guy, he fucked up last time, I'm done. 100%.
It's not working.
You know what? Against all evidence, Todd still has major winner upside for me. Like, I think he is unthreatening. He's got that very calming aura, pretty privilege. I think that he could be one of those ones that just slips through and snakes his way to the end.
Look, he's pissing nobody off but Bethany.
The cast is so strong that I can't see Todd being anyone's target for any time soon. Like, you look at people like Eden, who's played multiple advantages or found them to, you've got Loz, who's, coming across as a really strong player. Ed, not a strategic player, but really stands out from his personality and his challenge prowess. Andrew's always going to be a target. Andrew's trying to get the votes on Oscar. Like, people like Todd and Aiden are just going to just float through. Like, who's going to be targeting Todd or Aiden from now on?
They're going to want them for numbers too.
But I the difference is there. I think Todd can win.
Yes, I agree.
Yes.
I can't see how the winner doesn't come from yellow because, look, part of the experience sometimes is the people you're with. And let's say Amy gets back in the game, which means she has to beat John and Squin. And I think Squin could be a real challenge there. But let's she gets back. That means all of the yellows are in the merge. All of them, if Amy gets back in.
Yeah.
Is that math thing?
It will be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I watched it all very recently. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
But they all hate each other, though. But the yellows hate each other, which is what's so beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. They're not all going to come together. But what I mean is when then you're voting as a jury, sometimes that's a factor. So they all know Todd. They all spent time with Todd at the beginning of the game. They know what Todd's value is. And that sort of just focuses into the voting in these very short games.
100%.
Yeah, I can see that.
So we're in furious agreement with you, Annabel. Todd has high winner energy.
Stunning. We stand you, Todd.
He's mine. He's mine, isn't he?
Yeah, he's one of the. Yes, he's yours. I wanted him, but
that's right. You wanted me to pick John, but I switched him.
I'm still rooting harder for Ed and Bethany, though. I love that Bethany's such a hustler. I love that that is a closer. She will go in and make that happen. Like Eden might have sown the seeds and for that sale to be made, but it took Bethany to close that, and I think. People pick up on that energy from her, but if she can cement that relationship with Todd and keep Loz on side, like I've got a lot of hopes for her and Eden too. Come on.
I think Eden is such a fantastic player because he's really interesting to watch because he's so strong in his confessionals and his strategy and plans we have been aware of as the viewer have been so good. But I think when he's in the group dynamic, he comes across as a little bit nervous, a little bit uncertain, not as dominant as he is with the camera. And so I think we're seeing one side of him, but in the game they see something that's less threatening, which I think has enabled him to be the successful so far.
My only concern for Eden is that I think that sometimes the players are perceiving his communications with them as inauthentic. Yes. Like when he's having those one-to-ones, what he's putting forward is coming from the perspective of someone who's watched all of these LRGs. I mean, he knows that Andrew, this is his second game. We haven't seen him say that to anybody else, but he's been saying to everyone, watch out for that economist on the other tribe. So he knows that. He's a big fan. And I think because he's using that fan language with some other people that maybe aren't as bigger fans, I'm worried that those conversations aren't always resonating in the same way that, say, Bethany's having the same conversations.
He still has done a good enough job to not be the target over Anthea. Part of why Anthea was the target of the three yellows was that John said he'd vote for him. Like, and if you're in that flip situation and someone's flipping to you, you vote for the one they want to vote for, right?
Yeah, you give them what they want.
Okay, Anthea, sure. Because even Eden had managed to build like a little something with John that had gotten mentioned in the first couple of episodes. Also helped by Eden mistakenly voting the wrong way on the first vote that he sort of used to his advantage a little bit, as being with those guys as opposed to with his gal alliance that he had.
Yeah, totally. I'm dying to talk though, because I know you think that the Random Bird Tribe tribal council and their dynamics were boring. I strongly disagree.
It was not a boring dynamic, it was a boring end. Like nothing. I disagree. I think that this was potentially a game-losing decision for Andrew. I don't think Andrew can win in any circumstances, but yes,
it's not a great disagree. No, I disagree. I love Andrew. I love Andrew. I know it's not a hot take to love Andrew, but I think Andrew has learned so much from the 2x speed backyard episodes that I watched, where I loved him there as well. And he's learned so much about toning it back. And while people are still in the same way they are for Bethany, getting, ooh, he's a lot energy. And I think that was worse for him earlier in the game because he's the first one talking strategy. The longer he's getting, the more he's able to cement those relationships. And now, like, he was in a position where the two yellow women were prepared to side with him over Oscar, even though she, long-haired, brown-haired girl is
Sabrina.
Sab, even though, even though Sab's, in a very tight alliance with Oscar, still considering voting Oscar out, because he's been able to share. I think that Andrew could have gone far, and by not removing a number like Oscar to solidify those two women as his alliance members. Now, when Todd and Ed come back into the picture, that's it. That's game over for Andrew. Whereas before, he would have had Squin, he would have had Aiden, he would have had Sabrina, he would have had Hat Girl, Pauline. Sorry, Pauline. Love you, Pauline.
Like the people you can't, by the way, the ones you can't remember are definitely watching live and in the chat.
I know. That's why I apologize to them all. Look, I watched all of this like back to back, and
Pauline and Sam are in the chat every week. Shout out to you both. Look, I hear what you're saying. Look, I think this is what's happened with Andrew. He got a bit of a rude awakening on the first vote, being out of the numbers. Being only clued in at the last minute that the vote was Amy, switching to Amy to go along with the group. And then they still love you, Annabel, don't worry. The
tribe's really dominated by Andrew. He gets all the confessionals, so it's hard to keep up.
So I think that's the most incredible confessionals. That's why.
I'm not into the Possum Magic, but anyway. He was in a weak position, which he never was in Exile. Like, he was never not in control. He didn't actually have the core, like he was on top of the alliance, but he was with the other three that were dominating the game and had all the idols and whatever. So like he was always safe until he wasn't. He got a rude awakening and he dialed it back. And then started rebuilding with Sabrina and with Pauline. He's not saying, let's vote out Oscar, but the fact that Oscar told Aiden what the vote was, like, we can't have that, blah, blah, blah. Just slowly building, and then he finds the advantage, which he knows is completely useless, and he shares it, and that's really valuable to them. Like, all this slow building, and I feel like he might have pulled the trigger on Oscar, but then he was like, wait a minute, I've made a decision to go slow, and if I just push into overdrive and now like go, let's burn Oscar, like, that might be setting myself up the wrong way. I'm not sure that you're wrong, Annabel. I think you might be absolutely right. But I think from his mindset, he was probably worried about how he dialed it back and maybe keeping the slow burn going.
I get it, but Aiden is, this is giving Oscar a lot of power because Aiden and Oscar really close. Oscar is Sabrina's number one. I actually think Sabrina is in the best position on this tribe, because she's got Oscar and she's got Andrew. She was there with him, the first person who he told. She's tight with Pauline as well. My concern is this was the moment to axe Oscar. And I think while Ed and Todd have no intention of going to the end with Oscar, they certainly intend to keep him around longer than Andrew. And in not getting rid of Oscar here, Andrew has given all the numbers on that tribe to Oscar, and he's also, guaranteed he's going out before Oscar.
Do you think that he feels that Aiden is loyal to him as well, that Aiden isn't supremely loyal to Oscar? I get the feeling that Andrew thinks he's also got Aiden in his pocket.
He's the one who clocked that that Oscar specifically told Aiden what the vote was going to be ahead of time to lock him in as a number. Like, Andrew has the game awareness to know that Aiden is going to pick Oscar over him.
Yeah.
I also think, but all the people around Andrew and Oscar are doing a very good job of keeping Oscar and Andrew. I'm with you. They know that they're at logs. They know that's a vote at any point that they could take, and they're being like, "Yes, I'll do that vote with you." The people around them are doing a very good job of being like, "Yeah, I'll do that vote with you. That's great."
You're absolutely right, though. Andrew was immune that's the time to take that swing. Like if you weren't immune, if Sabrina was immune, Pauline was immune, then maybe you don't do it because it can so easily just swing right back on you when you're gone. But when you've got the safety of the necklace, that's the time to make the swing. And when you can be pretty sure the next vote's going to be merged, like just go for it.
It was the right move for Sabrina 1,000%. And obviously the right move for Oscar.
And Pauline, I would say.
Well, what was interesting to me was that Pauline wanted to target Oscar at that vote, and she kind of felt railroaded by Andrew and Sabrina into sticking loyal. She said in confessional, I really want to target Oscar. So she must be closer with Andrew. At least he still has Pauline.
The question from Gwyn here is, if Andrew wasn't immune, would he have been the bigger target than I don't know. You were there. No. Would he have been the bigger target than Oscar? Look, I would assume that smart players would probably prefer to keep Andrew because he's bigger than all of you. And if you're going to a merge, you want bigger players, particularly 11-person merge. You want bigger players, not under the radar, subtle players like Oscar, who isn't going to be a big target. Yeah, how did that turn out? Well, this is what Annabel wanted to talk about. She thought, and you can go into this, Annabel, now, that there was an opportunity for you, Squin, and for Oscar, for Aiden and for Squin to not just, I guess we're going to vote for each other and actually make a real effort to flip someone. No effort seems to be made. Do you want to talk to that, Annabel?
Yeah, I'm not saying no effort was made. I mean, they did go in and try. Like, they were trying and they were getting absolutely nothing. Because at the point that the Yellows kind of decided, well, if we go into... It was just profoundly unlucky for them that John had flipped, right? Because they were ready to go Oscar v. Andrew war if they could see that they had already lost a number. But for whatever reason, in having additional numbers, they thought, well, we may as well keep the numbers at merge. So I can see that it would have been tough for Squin and it would have been tough for Aiden. But I do think that if they had been able to go in and at that point, Squin was having the conversation, I think, with Sab, and Sab said, well, would you be willing to vote for Aiden? And if you had been able to push back and say, well, look, I will do what it takes to stay in this game, but Aiden and I have no friends on the other tribe at all. Same way that Eden did. We are your numbers. Is getting rid of one of us the best move for you, Sab? Like, who within your existing tribe would you like to weaken so that you have us on side?
That said, that's not really true, and you don't know how much they've been upfront about this because they have John on the other side. For all intents and purposes, no one expects John is getting voted out at that double tribal. So they're going to be reuniting in a tight 3. So for that reason, maybe it makes sense to vote out one of them. Like, the logic says that John was going to be safe. We have a question from Eden who says, do you guys think Yellow's logic there made more sense? I would have thought they'd be more likely to make a move knowing they had more numbers on the other side. What do we think?
I think that in Andrew's head, Andrew already knows that he's being perceived as a gamer and that he's being perceived as strategic and a bit cutthroat and potentially threatening. And perhaps in his mind, he didn't, knowing now that there are more of his enemies on the other side, didn't want to be seen as the person leading, the first yellow on yellow violence.
Yeah,
would be how I interpret
that. Squin likes your answer. It's a long comment. Good answer, Andrew. I totally panicked at the time. I didn't even think of who I could have as an ally on otherwise. Annabel, I'm taking notes.
Oh, I suck. I was like third boot or something. Just don't listen to me.
You got swap screwed by someone who just wanted to be interesting. That's a hard situation. In fact, you got Anthea. It's the exact same situation. You got Anthea.
Maybe I should have been more alpha, even more alpha. No, I also think I almost think that, so I mean there was just several things keeping putting them in a more negative position. I think the other issue is like
you got Laurel, by the way.
Squin doesn't have an Eden, right? Like, Aiden knows that he's already the favorite. He knows that he's completely confident that he isn't going to be the person going out because he knows he has those relationships. So there's not really the same incentive for Aiden that there is for Eden to push to keep them both. So I think that puts Squin at a disadvantage too.
I think it's a comment from Pauline, which I did pick up in the episode. Now she's saying it. I think it's a very good point. Aiden and Squin were mostly pitching Sab to Pauline and Andrew, and they were tight with them. And I think this is the issue, right? The target had to be Oscar, but obviously Aiden wasn't going to throw out Oscar because Oscar was like the person that he thought was a good opportunity. Like, that's a vote I've got, right? But Oscar was the target that Andrew had been developing and the one that could have happened a bit more organically. But for Squin and Aiden, they actually, particularly Aiden, they liked Oscar. They felt they had less of a relationship with Sab, but that wasn't the case for the Yellows. So it was about the wrong target, which is really tricky. Look, I feel that there's a good chance if Andrew wasn't immune, like they could have got the numbers on him. Like I think he could have actually been in a lot of trouble. We
said this last time, like we thought if Andrew, and we didn't think Andrew had a shot at winning immunity. We thought Andrew was going to be in real trouble this.
Well, it was a thinking person's challenge, and he got paired up with Todd, and I think two of them are very, very smart. And I think, well, can we talk about this challenge for a second? Do we like how it was confusing about which they had this rando orange tile you weren't supposed to use, and then but you're supposed to flip the tiles. But then, like, some of them were like, "What's the other side of the tile?" And they're like, "It's the same," which is obviously it wasn't. Like, do we like do you think it was a deliberate trick, or do you think that was just production mishap?
No, I loved it. I thought it was great. Make it a little bit complicated.
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
They all had the wrong strategy, though. Look, and I guess that's how you think. But if I was communicating or being communicated to, I would say, give me all the tiles, and then first, and I'll do them, and then give me the little bits. Don't give me the bits and the tiles. Too confusing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. Like, tiles first, bits next.
Yeah. Do you agree, Annabel? Is that how you'd think it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd be dead at the running. I'm bad at everything. I'm bad at puzzles. I'm bad at memory. I'm bad at exercise. Like,
you're all social game. That's your game.
Todd had it down pat. No, I'm also socially off-putting. I just suck, CK. I'm great at giving the pep talks now on the after show.
You weren't horrible on the traders and the challenges there. Like, I thought you did okay.
Great.
The course where you had to crawl through the barbed wire and stuff.
I did enjoy, I think it was in episode 3, one of the tribes was having a little chat about the traders. And I was like, yes, let's talk about the traders. Keep it relevant.
You were fine when you got electrocuted. That was fine. You did fine.
But yes, it sounds like in the chat that none of the players actually enjoyed this particular challenge. I enjoyed watching it.
Although, can we talk about John and Pauline? Because it gave me everything. I cackled watching the two of them try to communicate with each other.
Confusion. Yeah. Yeah.
Pauline was just so frustrated. She didn't understand what John was saying at all. She just was so flustered, and John gave her no more help than what.
It's you need two people that are on a similar wavelength with how they think about something like this, and if you're not, then you're basically fucked.
Yeah, absolutely. And they did not speak the same language, and it was fantastic.
Another random thing that I want to discuss. Did you understand what Andrew was saying about Possum Magic? Like, I got completely lost in the analogy or reference he was trying to make.
I have some unsolicited casting advice for Andrew, which I might shelve for now. The Possum Magic thing didn't make sense because unless he's referencing another version of Possum Magic was all about having to eat lots of different foods so that the possum got his color back.
Yeah.
I think he just liked the word Possum Magic and tried to construct a story around this, and somehow his worst confessional made the episode title. He does give a very compelling delivery. Andrew is phenomenal. We said this when we watched him on Backyard 3, like, Andrew was made for this.
Yeah. He needs to be on the real deal. And I like Annabel sent me a message and she started watching this and she's like, I love that he's leaning full George with the fedora. And I love that too. Eden also thinks it was the worst confessional. There's actually a really funny bit in this confessional in the next episode, if you've watched the next time, where he just sort of goes blah, 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 sort of thing. It's sort of funny. I also think that this slingshot challenge was incredibly, like, why are Dan and Liv standing in the line of fire? One also hit one of the camera people. Like, it seems so unsafe.
Oh,
Okay,
Todd, stop it. Slay. Yes. No, he was mixing his children's books up, I think. I think he was confused with Goldilocks. Also, who was the fat player? Andrew, tell me that. But yeah, no, the slingshot challenge would have been perfect.
Oh, hang on.
Josh.
Sorry, Dan Libido. It's okay. It was only Josh Peterson from Aston, as in the cameraman that took the damage. I think he said.
This challenge would have been fine if they hadn't put the table up against a wall. Like if the ball had just been able to fly straight over. And I understand why they do that. It's because they don't want all of those marbles to go missing. They want them to be able to go back and recollect them. But I actually think making them run and search for the marbles would have been funny in itself.
I reckon it was also a time factor. Like, you're going to knock more with the bounce back, and you saw that things knock up with the bounce back, and they're trying to get through this stuff like that. We've all been part of these things, organizing these things. When you have a puzzle that's supposed to be solved in about a minute, go for 30 minutes, it throws out your entire schedule.
So
they're rushing now.
Can we jump back? Squid made a comment about people throwing a challenge, and I just wanted to like.
I don't know why anyone would throw an individual immunity challenge.
No, I don't think I know either. But I'm just curious if she has some insider knowledge as to whether people actually did throw or sabotage that particular game. Did that happen? Was it a thing that went down? Commenters sound off.
It would seem to me, as Annabel just said, why would you do it? And like to compute the who could with the different pairs that you just see, and then go which one of those pairs don't I want to win, and I'm just curious. They thought it was a shotgun duel. According to Ed, and he doesn't think anyone threw. I don't think anyone would. There's too many mechanics involved.
But we're so glad Andrew won that one, so that we get another episode of Andrew.
I don't. He might be the merge boot. I don't know actually. He might survive.
I can see that happening. See that happening. I can see an Andrew merge boot. Which
he could be a strong consensus target for the yellows and the old rando birds, looking for a simple vote at the final 11. Like 11's a big merge as well for an LRG. You don't see it merge at that number very often. He could be an easy. I think the only chance he's got is if Amy gets back in the game, and then maybe the two of them can hook something up. But still, I think it'll be a real tough sell.
Or they send her straight back out because they don't want that.
I assume she would be given immunity for the first one if she got back into the game.
Yeah,
you have to give something. You can't win all these challenges and then get nothing.
You've got to think that Aiden, Bethany, and Eden can go reasonably far now. There's only 3 of them. That is not a numbers threat. It's got to be time for Yellow to start cannibalizing.
Yeah,
and in not solidifying his numbers, in not making a big move together, Andrew has left himself with nothing. This is why I'm so bullish on him needing to take out Oscar here.
I think you're absolutely right. He's such an easy target. If he grouped up some numbers, it's now just going to be Oscar versus Andrew again, with the Loz trio making the decision. And Loz has not forgiven Andrew for snubbing her when she tried to align with him in the first episode, and he fobbed her off. That was a big mistake, Andrew.
It's true, but Loz makes all the decisions around here famously, but Ed has no love for Oscar either. I remember in episode 1, because it wasn't that long ago, he was, for me, mouthing off about how Oscar was very young and potentially flaky, and he was considering him as an early boot. Andrew's going to have to pull some real Possum Magic, is all I'm saying.
And not the Possum Magic from the book, but whatever the hell he was talking about. Look, you're not wrong, and a better move for Ed, Loz, bigger players is to keep Andrew, not to remove someone generally that's going to go under the radar like Oscar. So if we are right, it is the big Oscar-Andrew battle. I think it's going to be really interesting where the lines are drawn coming into that next episode. Does anyone else have, like, Annabel gave me a hard stop at an hour because, and her time is precious. Does anyone have anything else they want to add before we sign off the coverage?
It's just been so amazing. I as I said, I genuinely enjoyed it. Like, it was good. It was better than the actual show. I'm enjoying it more than I'm enjoying Survivor 47. I love this cast. I'm so sorry I forgot some of your names earlier. I won't do it again. But no, I'm obsessed with this cast. Like, Dan and Liv doing an amazing job of hosting. The editing is phenomenal. I think this is comfortably the best LRG I've watched. And Soph says,
pull it up, sorry.
Who do you think wins the final duel? I'm kind of rooting for Amy, but no, I love Squin. Squin's so hot.
I want Amy to win from my draft, but Squin can do puzzles and is incredibly athletic, so I can't see it being a challenge that she can't succeed in. But Amy's a bit more mentally prepared. I would be surprised to see John win.
Amy's hot as well, and also, like, I am salty about Amy getting voted out for having the Riz. So, like, it's not her fault that she's a big personality. Let's cut the ladies some slack. So, justice for Amy. But yeah, I think it's between Squin and Amy, and Squin is a real, like, she is good on the challenges. Yeah. Dani, sorry, you're allowed to speak.
No, I'm enjoying this ping pong. I'm just sitting here drinking my wine, enjoying the two of you banter. It's good.
I was very excited to have you here. Well, look, in terms of, we've been talking about this a bit in the last 5 episodes. Is it the best LRG? Look, I think so, based on the current thing. We're talking about the cast. Is this the best cast? The contenders for that are also Sydney, which is probably a strong group along including everyone. And then, of course, our season, Annabel, which I think people agree has some very high highs, but has some low lows. So it sort of doesn't balance out so strongly from a cast point of view. But this season, like, I think it's better than Canberra season 2, yes, which we haven't revealed its official placement, but is in the top 3 based on the ORCA rank down. And I think deservedly is in the top 3. But I think this is just outstripping it. I can't wait to see the merge. And, we've talked about before that I believe that 40, 45 minutes is probably the sweet spot for an episode length. But every single one of these is just a bit over an hour. And that's not a problem. I still enjoy it. Like, I'm not getting bored at any point.
But so much of that, though, is the production value. Like, I'm sorry, the cast could be amazing and the moves could be great. If it's grainy, if the editing is poor, if the sound is poor, I'm just not that into it. I'm a bit bougie like that, and then miking them up properly for confessionals. You can clearly hear what they're saying, or if you can't, there's really great captioning. There's not a lot of fluff. They're just showing you the different interactions between people, which are leading you narratively towards what's going to happen at the tribal council. We're not seeing an excessively long tribal council with every single question has been on. What I'm interested to see is, can they do the final tribal well? Because I'm yet to see an LRG do a good final tribal that isn't letting people do long rambly questions. Blah, 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 blah. So that'll be the ultimate challenge. But honestly, the production quality, shout out to this team. It's been chef's kiss.
Incredible. I also think a lot of people don't do the duels, I believe, in these sorts of LRGs because it makes it very challenging from a scheduling point of view to get your the whole game into 2 or 3 days. But I do feel the duel is the absolute sweet spot for keeping the pre-merge boots involved in the game and giving them a better experience than just getting booted and out you go compared to Edge. It's just enough for them to remain relevant, to get to know them. It gives you an extra challenge, which is enjoyable. I like having that at the start of the episode and then moving into the next bit. I think all of it just works as great flow. I think it works a lot better than Edge. And I get from the next time on they say we say goodbye to the swamp of sadness. So it sounds like it was only a pre-merge concept, and obviously there to support people playing in LRG getting a second shot at coming back in the game. And I think it's worked absolutely perfectly for that purpose.
Big time.
I actually have zero criticisms about this season so far. Everything is just so polished and put together. And as you say, Annabel, the edit, the amount of strategies talk I get is the right amount to that I know there's potentially one of these two options at Tribal. I'm informed about those options. I know why those options might happen, but I'm not certain about what's going to happen. And then for the most part, to the extent you can, then the Tribal is the right length, because I find Tribal boring even in the real deal. So spot on. Brilliant.
Yeah, love it. No notes. Flawless.
Do you have anything to add? Dani, you took all the notes for this episode. I doubt you've had to glance at them once. Apologies.
No, it's fine. No, I was like, I wrote them, but I'm like, I'm putting banter with you guys. No, I 100% agree. I think the only criticism we had, CK, was sunglasses in the beginning.
Yeah, no sunglasses
now, so that's fine. No, incredible cast, incredible everything. Loving Dan's work.
No sunglasses. Spot on. It's not a good look. It's like Survivor Borneo. Get rid of this shit. All right. Well, thank you, Annabel, for being here. We know your time is precious, and we really appreciate you coming on. You're going to be on for a few weeks still while Jules is away filling her spot.
Yeah, tentative, maybe.
Well, please, if you can. But otherwise,
put me on the spot live there, CK. But yeah, all right.
Your fans are wanting you. What other podcast do you get this live visceral reaction to your production? Surely most of them are filmed and then aired later. You don't get the love in the real time. Like
the amazing race has finished, so I suppose I have a spot for you in my schedule.
Real time love. Give me a big fish in a small pond in this community. There's nothing better. Okay, so. Thank you, Dani. Thank you, Annabel. Thank you, everyone that watches live. We know that there's another podcast. I know people watch that one, so it's a big commitment to watch two podcasts, especially if you weren't in the season. Looking at you, Aston. So thank you very much for coming out and watching live. We really appreciate it. And to everyone that listens later, we also really appreciate your support. Until next time, we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.